Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the video. I'm GetGoodGuy, and Battlefield 1 is now 2 years old. Battlefield 5 is nearly here, and so now is the right time to assess the legacy of this game's lifespan as the current Battlefield title. Today is focused upon what Battlefield 1 did wrong, in my opinion, but don't get the impression that I dislike this game, as that couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, I've already produced my video about what I think Battlefield 1 did right. Links to that are in the description and my pinned comment, and I highly recommend you go and watch that if you haven't already, in order to get a full idea of the impact this game has made. Now, before we get into this properly, let me just quickly say that this is purely my opinion. You don't have to agree with it. Please try not to get triggered or salty about anything I say. You can leave your opinion in the comments below. Just be respectful. If you'd like to discuss in more depth about this or any other relevant topic, join the GetGoodGuy headquarters Discord server, which I've also linked to in the description and my pinned comment. So let's jump into this with a big one. Something I complain about a lot when I'm streaming: glitches. I'm not going to go into extreme detail, as I already specifically made a video about glitches recently, but my days am I tired of dealing with them now. Whether it's movement glitches such as failing to mantle objects, or visual glitches such as a lack of animation for the gas mask or reloading a weapon, I'm just exhausted with them at this point. Battlefield 1 has a huge list of glitches, and 2 years of experiencing them has me welcoming the arrival of Battlefield 5 with open arms. Anxious yet hopeful open arms. I commend what Battlefield 1 tried to achieve with the movement possibilities in the game, I really do. It's just that it feels like an early, unpolished attempt at it, which will perhaps lay the groundwork for something far better implemented in future titles. But that doesn't alter the fact that Battlefield 1 has been full to the brim with glitches since its release. But moving on, the next negative portion of the game for me is that there was no platform-specific weapon balancing. Why is this a problem? Well, I'll give you an example. If you played PC BF1 for any decent amount of time, you're probably aware of a large group of players who despise the Automatico. Why? Because the way the Automatico is balanced makes it fit pretty perfectly into console BF1, at least as far as I can tell. But when you give someone a mouse to aim with and almost entirely negate the recoil, you get a potentially overpowered monster on PC. Or what about sniper rifles as a whole? It could be argued that they now feel fairly weak on console BF1 due to the TTK 2.0 changes making almost all of the other weapons kill more quickly. But a potential one-shot kill weapon at a vast array of ranges, or all ranges with a headshot for most of them, coupled with the speed and precision aiming of a mouse, well, you have a completely different animal on PC again. Platform-specific balancing could fix these issues, but BF1 doesn't have that, and it's pretty detrimental. As a side issue, I'll add the lack of weapon rebalancing, or perhaps the lack of effective weapon rebalancing. How long did we play with the Hellrigel seemingly being the utterly dominant weapon in 50% of the assault player base's selections? I mean, it's still super popular now, I get that, but there was a point when it was popular purely because it was seriously the best thing for most people to use. What about the Model 10A Hunter, etc, etc? It seemed to take a monolithic amount of time for suitable alterations to be made. I'd sincerely like this to not be the case in Battlefield 5. If we look at the present day, the SMG08/18 is almost unanimously seen as not being well balanced, but this is unlikely to change due to the stage of the game's life that we're now in. I find this kind of thing to be a shame, and it's detrimental to the game. But let's move on. Now we come to what is essentially vehicle domination. Not everyone will agree with me, but I can only work with my opinion. Vehicles were not well balanced in BF1. Not all of them, of course, but on the whole, it felt like they had too much of an impact, especially the damn Muromets. I don't know if overall vehicles are too potent, or if there's too many of them. All I know is that it's become a near constant struggle at this point. I fully support Battlefield's need for vehicles and for them to be effective, but this is too much. I'll show you here what I ended up producing in order to vent about this topic before. I called it Vehicle Death Simulator. Now, I know it looks shockingly similar to Battlefield 1, but trust me, I know what I'm talking about here. So there are two basic class options in Vehicle Death Simulator. There's the death dealers, who use the vehicles and obviously deal death, and then there's the victim class, who run around and provide the death dealers with something to deal death to. Pretty simple, right? Now, as you can see, I'm not too good at the game. I keep making the mistake of trying to destroy the vehicles, and this is clearly wrong, as nobody else seems to be doing it. So I'll have to try to alter my playstyle style from now on, because you know, I don't want to ruin the experience of those using the vehicles. That would be pretty inconsiderate, and I do want to get better at the game because the truly top players can unlock the fabled vehicle spawn death a lot more often, and that's what we all so desire. But I'm not the only one who isn't very good. Sometimes other victims try to kill you for some unknown reason, no idea why, so obviously you should defend yourself, and then you can receive your reward of a vehicle death, which is always so appreciated. But unfortunately sometimes this is reversed, and it's very frustrating. You can take a nice vehicle death, which is cool, but then when you spawn, you'll be right near an enemy victim with no way of protecting yourself if they decide to break the rules, which is a bit of an oversight, I think, but this is just a minor gripe. Oh, and there's great variation in that you're sometimes pretty sure you're about to take a vehicle death, but other times you have almost no warning at all, like when an artillery truck picks you off from across the map. It feels so good. Oh, and also this is really cool. You can also keep track of how good the death dealers are. When they kill you, you can see just how many times they've killed people with that vehicle. 100 kills per service star. And it's not just standard vehicles either. No, you've got exotic stuff like fortress guns, which adds some real flavor, or even cavalry riders, for those with a fetish for death via horse. Oh, and the crazy biker guy, his goal is purely to splatter you into the dirt. So it's nice that there are so many options. It's very inclusive. You can die in just so many awesome ways, and it happens all the time. Yeah, it's so good. I think probably the most powerful tier you can get to as a death dealer is the heavy bomber called the Italian Alps, or I don't know, something along those lines, however you say the awesome thing. That thing gives you almost no chance of survival. It's wonderful. And if you eventually get bored of vehicle-based deaths, then you can even commit suicide. You can jump off ledges and stuff. It's not consistent. Sometimes you die, and other times you take little or no damage, but at least you can try it. So I feel like that really covers that issue. Vehicles are the one true dominant force in BF1. Now let's move on to the next issue, brightness and contrast. Quite simply, it's not good in BF1. I'm forever turning them up and down to suit different maps or weather effects and whatever else. Looking out of a window can be blinding, and even caved-in walls produce the same ridiculous effect sometimes. I really don't want to see this return in Battlefield 5 either. Next up, I don't like the lack of any real progression system. It basically didn't exist in BF1. That's pretty shocking in this day and age for this kind of game. I don't feel the need to say too much about it, but you can look at the variant system rather than attachments and such like. It was just straight up bad. There weren't enough incentives to keep people playing. I can also list something that didn't personally bother me as such, but while the epic feel of being in a battle was nailed, as I stated in my What Battlefield 1 Did Right video, I would also say that it didn't nail it from a World War I specific standpoint. Someone else more knowledgeable could go into far greater detail about this than I, but I'll just quickly highlight the weapon usage. The sheer amount of automatic weapons gives the wrong feel, as does the inclusion of experimental weapons, such as the Hellriegel, which itself didn't even see combat in World War I. It was a concept weapon, at least as far as I'm aware. Regardless, it certainly wasn't something that great swathes of troops were mowing people down with. Now for me, this is a very minor point, and I think that balance and overall fun comes first, but it felt like it was due a spot in a video critiquing a World War I game. Moving on, behemoths and sentries. Yes, I can see what the intention was, something new and exciting, but now I hate them. Absolutely despise them. I seriously hope never to see their return. And I don't want this video to drag on for too long, so now I've covered the major points, I'll just quickly list off the other more minor things I can think of. Splitting the community with premium was a terrible move. The lack of private server support killed a massive chunk of the player base. Incursions took forever to turn up, especially on console, and then wasn't marketed or supported well. I hope it was a test for Battlefield 5, otherwise it was a waste. The team balancing was poorly implemented. The game was way too explosive heavy. Rifle nades, I'm looking at you for example. 3 rifle nades plus the ability to have a standard nade is a terrible design choice. Spawns can be extremely poor. The bipod plus suppression is far too strong. In fact, suppression on its own is far too effective. I really dislike the 1 meter bayonet charge. Fire ruins my life. Big fires, small fires, fires nowhere near me. I'm seemingly always ablaze. Ribbons popping up and covering the flag info of whether enemies are present is poor design. There are some very poor menus and load times. The pre-order weapons linked to Battlefield 5 isn't a great look. The crazy strong auto rotation on console was a big deal for far too long. And finally, I personally dislike the score multiplier for winning a match. It screws stats in a truly huge way. Someone who absolutely smashes it on the losing team doesn't deserve less points than someone who was carried on the winning team. And with all of that said, That's what I think Battlefield 1 did wrong. Overall, I love this game, it's just highly flawed at the same time. Remember to head over to my video where I talked about what Battlefield 1 did right, because it truly did a lot of things very well. And get your comments below to join the discussion. Plus, I no doubt forgot to mention some things, so feel free to get down there and type those out as well. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button for me, I'd really appreciate it. If you're new here, remember to subscribe, turn on those notifications with the bell button so you don't miss future content, and join the Discord server in the description and my pinned comment. Now let's head over to the Board of Awesome for the epic people who support the channel on Patreon. That support helps me to do this full time, so thanks to everybody on here. If you want to join them on the Board of Awesome, the link to the Patreon page is in the description and my pinned comment. And with that all said, I'm GetGoodGuy, and I'll see you next time. Laters.